Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 19th of May. Well, it's all right here in the DOC, as well as Shakeout Rising. We've had this falling orange, which we know as soon as we get that crossover point, which happened just underneath that level, 2867 level. And from there, boom, we started pre-market open and just kept going. Positive news on potential vaccine, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, Fed backstop. Likewise, in Q, pushing the 100% Fibonacci line to the upside, and perfect configuration from a buy standpoint. I mean, you have the orange under, you have rising steel, rising green, rising red. It's all there. Almost overbought though. So keep that in mind. Could see some little retraces. Euro is going ballistic because, oh hey, Europe is open, and not really. Yes, they've started doing some things, but if you're over here, you can see the dysfunction of business, and it's a positive in the interim right now, but we're going to see some reversals in the not too distant future as they realize how you can't just do things part way. It's not going to work. That's neither here nor there. Oil, this is the big question mark here, because if this continues to rise, it is going to put upside inflationary pressures, and that is going to be that catalyst which justifies the market at its values, because you can't have that kind of devaluation without an impact towards inflation. And oil is certainly going to be a hot spot. So is gold. A little bit of a fill back in from the positive extreme that took place the other day, but still poised to continue its march. So from an intraday standpoint, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, this was all up. We started to get some DOC spreads in between there. None of it could sustain anything from a downward, because once you've got that big a move and so many, you get some shorts that are starting to apply, but they start a little early. And that led to the next little wave up. But you can see there wasn't that much short power, because it really didn't drive things that much higher. And then it's just a matter of going with what it is, because you know at some point you're going to get a little bit more of a move to the downside. So as we came a little bit later across in the day here, right before the end, you had the profit takers come in, and that led to a much more significant, you had the Sigma event off the short. And that led to the move to the 0% of the Morganachi, which had risen significantly. So not exactly horrible. And then that moved us into pre-market. It's been a little more dynamic because we ended up taking out some of the stops, make the shorts cover. And when that's done, just let it fall back down. And we're just coming off the bottom of that as we begin to get ready for the open. We may actually turn green here right before it's time, and I would expect that we'll just probably move right back up. This what's going to be the goal will be this new high up here, just shy of 3,000. Amazing stuff, but this is the unique dynamic when you have that kind of Federal Reserve baseline. As far as the valuation, you get any good news on top of that, there's only one way to go. You can only bid it up from there, and that becomes the new baseline, and you don't just have your spikes and dips back and forth from that. So amazing that you could be in the, having gone from the best economy where price was at these levels to the worst economy, and price is nearing those highs. But as we've talked about, there are reasons for those dynamics, and you just have to take what is, and we'll work with that. As always, though, if anything unique is going on, yesterday was pretty boring from that standpoint. Other than it was a dramatic move, it was just pretty clean. Same with some of these moves, just nice. I mean, even with the positive extremes that were set up in the middle of this run, brought it all the way right there from that 50%. We're just kind of returning back to the baseline of that original positive extreme, which effectively puts things at a net zero. As always, though, I will put anything relevant on the Skype chat. As always, trade well.